I have an audiobook in this thing called Fantasyland, where it's about like this guy's ideas that America is based off of people who are prone to believing in fantasy. Basically being like we're a nation of like utter suckers who are led purely by fantasy. And I'm listening to this guy's book. It just sounds like really snobbish so far. Or he'll talk about like the original people from England and be like, there was like, the population was growing faster than the economy. So there was like all these people who were getting rounded up and sent over here, and they were getting huckstered on a dream, and there was no gold here, and it's like,
what is shitty revelation this guy's trying to expose? It's
so far I'm just kind of like, dude, this is a stretch, because it's like, it's easy to sit here now and be like, these guys thought there was gold, and it's like, okay, books just came out. What was it, like 1440?
Yeah,
that was the first book.
1440, the first book came out.
Gutenberg Press. So then it's like,
I thought you said 1940, and I was like, holy shit.
No,
dude.
1440. I thought it was like 1700s till I checked it this morning. 1440,
Whoa.
the books come out, and then it's like, in England, for hundreds of years, it was like, there was one book for every like 25,000 people. So like, if you were a dude in England in 1600s, and you had no job, you were just like a fucking stray cat. You were just sit there somewhere, eat, and then just stare at a wall. And then some guy would be like, yo, there's a whole other country with gold and stuff. You want to come on a boat? You'd be like, yeah, fucking sure. Why not? And this guy's like, these suckers.
You got to go to Jamestown.
Suckered. Yeah, and it's like, dude, these guys were like sitting. Imagine being in your parents' basement forever. And they didn't even have a basement. You were just in the first floor. Your mom was just like,
one room. And your parents are fucking every day in front of you. You're just sitting there.
And some guy's like, yo, you want to go fucking and get gold?
You want to go build a fort in Virginia?
That is, when people talk about 400 years ago, it's the most annoying thing. It's like acting like they actually crashed. He was like saying how like Columbus thought he was in Japan. He's like, and he hit the Bahamas. And it's like, dude, of course you hit the fucking Bahamas, man. What would you have done? I hate when people get all high and mighty about that shit. And to think about, like, you come here, you don't even know this landmass exists, and now you see different people for the first time, and it's like, and they just treat it, and it's like, dude, you're in like a fucking video game.
Yeah.
They got like sharp sticks, and you're like, yo, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. And they start getting loud, and you're like, all right, I'm busting out a musket, dude. I don't even know you guys. I hate that when they're just like, and then they do this fantasy of gold, and they ruin these people, and it's like, that stance on history.
You know what else is weird about
off.
that is Columbus wrote in his journal that these people would make fine slaves when he landed. Mm-hmm. That was just in his journal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's his personal thoughts, bro.
I mean, of course he ended up cutting people's ears off and shit and genociding, but,
that was his first impression. Like, these would be good slaves.
These would be pretty good slaves.
So,
He just kept it. He was like,
just
kept it to himself.
That's his own personal
That's
thought.
1492. Dude.
I mean, if you check my journal, dude, there's a couple I've seen people before. I'm like, you know what?
That's a fine slave, dude. That would be a great slave. I don't want to get too racist. Never mind. I'm not going to name good slaves.
Yeah, but it's like,
who do you think the best slave possibly would be?
I'm saying, man, you go over there and you discover Native Americans for the first time, and they're fucking running all fast, bare feet. You're like, damn, bro.
Man, that's a good slave, dude.
Give that motherfucker a wheelbarrow, bro.
Yeah.
That guy would fly.
Tie some stones to his back, let him run around.
Give that guy, like, you see guys with fucking, I mean, they had tomahawks.
Yeah.
They're fucking chopping down trees for arrows. You're like, put him on a fucking apple orchard. This motherfucker would be picking, he'd be killing it. I just hate when people put a modern mentality on the 1600s. It's like, dude, you have no fucking idea.
Yeah, of course. I gotta let you read that book, dude.
What
War on the
that?
Run, dude.
What's that about?
It's about. I read it a while ago, and then I started reading it again. It's about Robert Rogers. He was like the first Army Ranger. Mm-hmm. He was like he was like the precursor to Special Forces in modern military,
awesome,
and he lived in pre-French and Indian War America in like Vermont, New England, and I've talked about it a bunch of times on his.
What's he do?
The savages would come in and kill everybody in his town.
Oh, didn't he take up with the savages?
Then he kind of took up with the savages. Like, he was raised alongside a tribe with his town.
Yeah, yeah.
So he
studied
knew
the
land. He knew the land, and he knew modern war was going to be different than standing in line. So he formed kind of like a special forces where they could travel long distances.
So he's the reason our
Small
Navy
parties.
SEALs are so sneaky, basically.
They still study his maneuvers to this day.
Dude. That's tight.
Yeah, but the first couple of chapters are all about like landing in America.
And it's being like,
And, like,
holy shit.
his family and another family. They're Scots Irish, and they're like, we can try to make our own outside of this village. Let's try to. They formed clans. They joined families with another family and bought like 600 acres for like 11 pounds.
In America?
Yeah.
Who'd they buy it off?
It was British.
Whatever bull was chilling.
Yeah. But then it was kind of like you said, like they would let the white trash kind of be a buffer.
Yeah.
So his family was a white trash buffer.
And they'd be like, go ahead, bro.
And they're like, you can have that land if you can settle it.
Damn.
And then up until Thomas Jefferson, nobody had really gone west of, like America hadn't really expanded at all.
Where'd TJ go?
The Louisiana Purchase.
That was TJ?
He got all that shit, yeah.
Like
and he led
I like to see a couple pages of his journal, dude.
He led. He was the one who founded the Lewis and Clark expedition.
Yeah.
So the first two presidents were just like, we don't even know about the Pacific Ocean. They're like, we're not going over there.
Well, that was the other thing.
We're not heading over there.
They were saying that
probably knew about it.
He was like kind of like scoffing at the fact that like when they got there, the Native Americans were like, there's like a big sea if you go like 7 days walk from here. And dude, the language barrier is unimaginable. And they're like, and this guy actually thought like the South Indian Ocean was like 7 days away. And it's like, dude, fuck you. Let me drop you off in the woods, dude, on a state game. See how you make it out. Someone's like, yo, it's that way. You'd be like, thank you.
Let's drop you off in Strawberry Mansion, dude.
Yeah, I just
See if you get out of that
chaps my ass
without getting burnt at the stake.
That's the ultimate armchair quarterback to be like, and he crashed into the little wrong landmass on his sailboat.
Looking at history,
yeah, just being like, clearly these guys are. He was saying like the people who weren't suckers stayed in England. It's like, yeah, it's more than being a sucker, dude. It's like these people were poor as fuck.
Yeah,
and they didn't have any other choice really, and a lot of them were indentured servants too. So it's like. Yeah, it's a bullshit thesis, and I've had people tell me like, "Oh, this is really good," and I'm reading it. And I'm like, I can't fuck with this guy, dude.
You know what? It's a weird thing that I've always been bothered by is like in this country, if you want, like everybody always prefaces things like this is America, and in America we love an underdog, or like in America we love it. It's like first of all, everyone loves a fucking underdog, and stop talking about this country.
Yeah.
As though you've traveled the world.
I know.
It always bothers me when people are like, this is a racist country.
Oh, dude.
Like, have you traveled, dude? Why don't you ask Sudan if they're racist?
Have you gone anywhere, dude? Have you even read to find out, like, that's the other thing, too. And they're like, this country's founded on racism. And it's like, dude, read about there's been so many other genocides all over the world for the same thing. Have been like, yeah, you guys are the other guy. Fuck you guys. That's so fucking annoying.
We're spinning our wheels.
This country's founded on white supremacy.
Like,
so that's like, you see people in Western PA, their grandfathers fucked up some Indians, dude. Not long ago either, dude. I'm talking like 1920.
No, more than that.
Whatever. 1800s.
Yeah.
Went and bucked up some Indians, dude.
It was longer than that in PA.
Whatever
PA
it was.
got settled a long time ago.
But that was the boys who came in. They were just buffering them around. Whenever Indians were like in Ohio.
You got to clear out some Indians, though.
You got to
clearing out.
Yeah, but you got to use the absolute. People were doing the do back
I'm
then.
gonna say this.
That was a Mountain Dew commercial back then.
Of all the horrific genocides in human history, I can handle the Native Americans getting brushed off the land.
You like that one?
I'm all right with that one.
Okay.
A bunch of dudes with Mountain Dew coming up and be like, get these fucking pieces of shit off this land.
That must have been wild, dude.
Well, it's funny. It's such a weird double standard to have. I mean, I get it if you are like, I can't believe America did this.
Yeah.
If you don't know history at all,
well,
and you think America is such a nice, it's like you can't have a nice empire.
Yeah, well, you don't meet Turks and be like evil bastard.
No, of course not.
They genocided the Armenians.
Yeah,
that's the show, The Young Turks.
Every country.
Yeah, that's true.
Every country genocided somebody.
It's true.
It's like, and another thing with the Indians is like, how do you think they got that land?
Yeah.
They genocided some other fucking tribe.
They definitely did.
They were at war with each other constantly.
Forever, dude. It's always been that way.
And they weren't like sophisticated, nice people.
Yeah.
I've done this like so many times.
But no, it's
such a funny, like if you look at history at all and if you look at history with like rose glasses where you're like, America's this beautiful place. It's like, obviously you're wrong.
Yeah.
So when people bring up like the atrocities committed against Native Americans, it's like, yeah, I mean, this is shocking when I was in 7th grade. Mm-hmm. I'm an adult now.
In 7th grade, they fed me the cornucopia story where like they split a turkey and they're like, "Hey, let's teach you some skills."
And then later you find out it's like, "Oh shit,
You're
we
like,
killed all those guys."
And then after for dessert, dude, they were like,
"Yo, you want some Mountain Dew? It's got smallpox." That's how they actually killed
They gave him some
They gave him some Code Red, and the natives were like, they fucking died.
They didn't have an Xbox anywhere. They're like, "I don't know what the fuck to do."
But yeah, it's funny to think about, like, people just showed up and were like, "This is pretty nice land."
Well, dude, when you read that
Who
book,
the fuck are these idiots?
Get
them out of here.
When you read White Trash, it was like the English government was just rounding up the poorest of fucking shitty, like literally taking orphans.
Do you have that in hard copy?
No.
God
yeah, my
damn it.
brother has that. Yeah, my
All
brother
right,
has.
good.
That's
I need
great.
one. I need one.
Dude, that's great. So they would round up orphans and then just put them on a boat and be like, over. So like you'd have these people who were just like absolute mud kickers, dude, landed in America. And then they're just like, all right, I guess I'm here now. Arrow goes through your wife's neck and they rape 30 people. And you're, who the fuck are these guys?
You gotta find
and
them.
that's what happened, dude. That's the Thomas Sowell guy talks about this. And it makes a lot of sense when people talk about slavery, whether you're dealing with slavery in the abstract or you were living during that time. When people were like, they get mad at Lincoln being like, well, when he freed the slaves, he was kind of cold and calculated. He should have been more moralistic about it. And it's like, you can say that now, but it's like if you were the president, imagine if you were the president back then. Like if these people there was millions of slaves in the South. So they were really worried about like, if you free them, are they going to come fuck you up and kill you?
Yeah.
Like the Thomas Jefferson has a famous quote of being like, you had the wolf by the ears, dude. He's like, what do? Do you fucking let it go? They got some guy wrote a love story between him and his like teenage slave, and it got a lot of negative press, dude.
Yeah, I bet
they got a lot of negative press.
Well, I bet they were eating some pizza too.
They're like, he's a
slaves.
rapist and blah blah blah. And the guy wrote the story like a love story basically, and that's
you brought up an interesting point when we were talking about this book earlier about how I keep wanting to say Sowell, Thomas
Sowell, yeah. It's Sowell,
yeah. How he talked about how like they also the Western Europeans also abolished slavery.
They did.
Like this,
no one talks about that.
This is an institution that it built the pyramids.
Yeah.
This is an institution that's been around since as long as humans were even remotely civilized.
Yeah.
They've had caste systems and slavery, and then it led up in human history. It took the great white man to say, knock it off.
It was the English, dude.
Yeah.
Even the French were like, nah, slavery's still chill. And then they finally folded. Yeah, dude.
I think it was like the Portuguese were the last ones.
Yep.
I think in Brazil it was still going.
Yep. But then there was
the US and Brazil.
There was the Arabs in Asia, man, and they were still rocking in the free world.
Still going.
They got stamped out hard though, and then they would fly French flags, and the British government wasted millions of pounds on abolishing slavery worldwide. So it's
How
like,
about
yeah,
that?
I know.
What do you think of that?
They were the biggest slave exporter too. That's like, dude,
while they also kind of enslaved the Irish people.
That's true too.
The Irish were slaves
dude,
too.
that
should be the name of our podcast.
The Irish slaves.
The Irish were slaves.
Well, dude, the Stormy Daniels issue with like Trump's.
Every time we talk about this, I'm like, God damn, I'm going to hear this later and be like, we sound like retards.
No, this is the conclusion I've reached though, because it's like you have like the Stormy Daniels thing to where now they're being like they can't like what the fuck? How are they trying to put this? They're like, she still deserves respect, right? As a prostitute, and it's like
as a slut,
as a porn star,
as a sex worker.
She was a exactly. So it's like I can like it's you can think about it however you want because it's like I get that, and it's
sluts.
like
I respect sluts.
I do. It's like that makes sense, but at the same time, it's like she deserves respect. However, if you're in a room with a prostitute, you leave your wallet on the nightstand, you take a piss and come back, and you're like, oh shit, and you fan through your bills to make sure they're there, totally warranted as well. So it's like everything has a double
nature. What does that have to
nature.
do with?
Because it's like they're being saying like, well, why are we taking her testimony seriously? She's a fucking prostitute.
Where's Stormy Daniels coming out?
They're the lawyers now. It's pushing being
we were just talking about slavery.
Because this is my thing where it's like how there's just a double-edged thing to everything. How you can just be like you can pull out stories and focus it towards like, and then Thomas Jefferson did this, and it's like, dude.
So you're saying
that's
like,
fucked up. But then
slavery was warranted.
No, I'm just saying it depends on how broad or narrow you put your telescope, dude. Because then it's like Stormy Daniels. It's the same thing now where people are like, she deserves respect. And they're like, well, how much can we really take her testimony serious? She's a fucking whore.
Oh, that's a little strong.
Yeah, but she's a criminal, basically. So when you're, it's like taking a cop.
She was a porn star.
She's a fucking prostitute. He was paying her to fuck him.
That's whatever.
Porn stars are hookers. They go around on the fucking circuit.
I understand, but it's like you can't fucking That's crazy to be like,
You
how
take
can we
cops-
take her testimony
You
seriously?
take
She's a
cops'
whore.
testimony like more seriously than a civilian, so it makes sense. And if you get caught committing,
I don't.
If you get caught committing felonies and
Fuck
shit,
the police,
if you're like
dude.
a CI, a lot of times that gets thrown out because you're a criminal, and they're in court, and they're like, well, we're not. This person's a fucking like 6-time felon. They could have ulterior motives. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So like that's like, yeah, you should respect people's humanity, but also if you're a prostitute, I got a different scope on you, dude. You know what I mean? Like if you're around my wallet, I'm kind of like, where the fuck's my wallet at?
You think Stormy's gonna snatch your wallet?
She could.
Steal $5 from you?
She's gonna steal a fucking double saw out of
She's
my
gonna get a
wallet.
fin out of you.
Yeah, dude.
No, I'm just thinking.
But
in my
it's
head,
annoying because if you point out, like you were saying, the fact that, like, yeah, well, white people did it. That's the guy's soul being like, no one talks about the fact that it was Western Europeans stopped slavery globally,
Yeah.
and it's like,
It's a pretty good
but to
thing.
say that is like, how dare you?
Why would you say that?
It's like, hey, we were bad boys and we were good boys, dude.
Yeah. of all
Everybody was bad
of
boys.
if you want to break it down like a psycho into races and geography,
Mm-hmm.
of all the areas in the world that were bad boys throughout human history, which they all were,
Yeah.
the one that was like, we should knock this off, was the fucking British, wasn't it?
Yeah. But that goes on, dude. That's at any time. Like it happened with
I'm just back to thinking about white trash kicking Indians off the land. It's making me because I'm just thinking everybody looked like my cousin Frankie.
Well, it's funny that everyone thinks like quote unquote white people were just like a race of like just pure conquistadors who came over here and like, shoo, you fucking beast. And it was just this guy being like looking through one eye and like, what the hell's that?
Yeah, it was like in The Revenant. It was like Tom Hardy in The Revenant. It was like this balding, like flea infested dipshit fighting a shirtless fucking Indian.
I mean, dude, it's really like, did you ever when you were little trap like 2 bugs under a glass and watch them fight?
Yeah.
Pretty much what it's like, dude. You're like
Yeah,
a spider and
you
a
were like
bee,
the
and you're just
British.
like, there you
Yeah,
go.
the British captured 2 retards, put them in a jar. I was like, whoever wins, we're going to take over.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking wild.
Yeah, Black Panther. The one point, I was watching it and I was like, all right, whatever. And then at the very end, when King Killmonger,
I didn't even want to tell you about him,
Dude.
because I was like, you were like, what do they do? They bark. I'm like, yeah, Shane, they bark. I'm not even going to tell you about this.
yeah, King Killmonger was I mean, the storyline could have been sick. If they, I
Yeah,
don't know,
it was the most intricate storyline of a
They would
Marvel
have had some
movie
blood
ever.
in there and some violence. I know they would have made $1 billion if they.
How about the
included that.
girls like fighting their boyfriends and
The girls versus the men part was a little fucking lame.
Yeah.
I'd rather watch Timothy Chalamet or whatever get fucking butt pounded by Army Hammer than watch that shit again. I'd rather watch Timothy come into a fucking peach and watch old Army eat it,
Oh my god!
which is fucking insane that they put that on. That was just
Oh,
fucking
God.
insane. But the very end when he's like Killmonger got stabbed.
Yeah, I saw that.
And-
Oh wait,
and he's like-
Killmonger's
the bad guy.
I was thinking of the other guys who live in the cold.
No, I like those guys.
That's what was making
The
me
gorilla
laugh.
big
When
dudes.
you asked me,
Yeah.
I was like, wait, they were like barking at those guys. I was on one episode. I was like, yeah, Shane,
Oh,
they
yeah,
were
you
they
didn't
were
wanna-
they were barking. They
you
were
didn't wanna
making.
give me the gorilla
Yeah,
noise?
yeah. I
You
was
didn't wanna give me that
I was like, yeah,
information?
Shane, they were barking like dogs. Anyway,
Yeah, that made me laugh when
I saw that and I was like, what the fuck?
when
are
I
they
saw
doing?
their village, I was like, yes, yeah, hilarious.
Wait, so Killmonger was
Yeah, he's
Michael
like,
B. Jordan.
He's like, yeah, we can get you help, and he's like, nah.
I'd rather die.
He's like, I'd rather die, just like my ancestors who jumped off the boats rather than
Yeah.
live a life of servitude.
Yeah,
And I was just like, why? Come on, dude.
yeah.
Like, I'm trying. Come on, dude. I'm watching a fucking comic book movie.
Yeah,
Gonna
come on.
toss slavery at me, you cocksuckers.
Yeah, that was pretty bizarre. And I mean, it's like, it'd be funny if like there was just like that white pilot in there, but like, yeah, the Nigerians had a pretty good slave trade going on there for a while. And
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah. He's like, the Irish were slaves too, right? They're like, He's like, yeah, that's usually what happens.
that's always whenever I see that, I'm like, yeah, totally, that's white people's fault. But it was a conspiracy of many doing that. And it's like, I don't know, that's just an age old thing, but it's kind of like, I'd rather die. And it's like, yeah, man, it's cool. I'm glad, I'd fucking think I'd like to think I'd jump off of a slave ship too, but I probably
No, you
wouldn't.
wouldn't.
I probably fucking wouldn't, dude.
Hell no.
I'm not gonna get eaten by a shark. I'd be on there like, I'm gonna get out of here. This will probably be a couple years or so, and I'll be gone.
Oh man, to jump off a slave ship, you'd have to be. That'd be fucking to just die at sea. That sucks.
True that.
I'd be fucking Django, dude. Be fucking Shango
Yeah,
unchained.
but you gotta get freed. You gotta get freed. If I
I'll
was
get
sitting there,
fucking free.
I mean, if I was sitting there just like shit, and like you're like packed against you're packed against everyone. You're just like in your own shit and piss. You can't wear your manhood, dude. They fucking take
They
that off.
strip
you.
your manhood.
Strip your manhood. Just like you're like.
Well, you wouldn't need a manhood if you were from Africa.
It depends. Some of it. Some
Not a lot of circed bulls.
Not until the fucking
Sub-Saharan.
Muslims. Yeah, that's true.
Sub-Saharan.
True.
Huh?
Muslims came in and started
Let's
cutting
talk
birds.
slaves.
You want to talk slaves?
We already covered gay bullshit. Let's cover some slavery.
What you want to talk about?
What do you think of slaves, dude?
Not for me.
Not for me either.
Not for me, dude.
Couldn't agree
I don't
more.
want. I don't want them.
I would hate
That would be awkward as fuck if just someone showed up at your house with a slave and you'd be like, dude, what the fuck? You can't have a fucking slave. Like, get out of here, dude. You can't have a slave in here. It's like, oh, come on, dude. What the fuck? I'll be so uptight. Like, dude, you can't have
like
a
a southern dude bringing a slave to
Just
like
someone came.
like during the. I bet that had to have happened
Oh, no doubt.
in like the Civil War time, like right when the North was like abolitionists, no more slavery.
There's still people who are just like, fuck it, you can't tell me not to have a slave. And they had a
Yeah,
couple,
yeah,
they had like
yeah.
a little head stash. They're like,
Yeah.
they got a couple fucking kicking around.
I got some guys back there. They have fun. What am I gonna do?
Dude, when I first started, when I was 17, I remember when I was working for a pool company when I was 17, I remember when at least to my view, when it was like Mexicans just came out on the scene. And I was working for this pool guy and his brother was talking to him being like, yo, this Mexican guy's right next to him. He was talking about him like he was his slave. He's like, you got to get you one of these, man. I got a Mexican. Psh, these Mexicans are great. And he'd be like, I'll let you use my Mexican for the day. And would talk about him like he was a fucking slave.
While he was standing there,
Standing right fucking next to him. I was 17 years old. I remember the three of us had to pave. We had to do asphalt, a whole big driveway. And he's like, I'll take my Mexican for the day. So I'm telling you, bud, you need to get rid of these guys, get you some of these. I was just sitting there like, what the fuck? You would
Holy
have thought
shit.
it was his. It was just standing next to him. He's like, "Go with him." It was his fucking slave.
holy shit, that's a
was
fucking
paying him.
fucked up story.
I was getting $7 an hour. He
Yeah.
was probably giving his Mexican $4 an hour. Dude.
Yeah.
Giving him nothing.
Yeah,
And we had a fucking doing asphalt sucks.
that's a good lad.
He was the first lad, dude. He was a fucking Gen 1
First,
lad.
he was the fucking
He was ladded for Columbus, dude.
Kunta Kinte. Columbus.
But yeah, I remember this guy. I remember being like, damn, this guy's talking about this Mexican dude like it's his slave.
Lad Armstrong. That's Lance Armstrong. That doesn't make sense. Lad Armstrong landed on the fucking moon, dude.
Dude, I mean, this guy was getting. I mean, maybe felt good about getting talked up all
Laddie
day.
Robinson.
He was the first.
He was the first lad, dude.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man.
You're right though. I don't remember lads being around when I was younger.
I'm telling you,
I think that's because when we were young, we still had Polacks.
What do you think?
Still
Polacks
had
were the
Eastern
OG
Europeans were the lads.
lads? We had some
Like I'm
Ruskies
talking
and stuff.
70s. Not that we were young during that.
I think they were more out west.
70s, 80s. I think we had you used shitty workers like Polacks.
Yeah,
You used Eastern Bloc, fucking newly.
I could see that. Yeah,
And then 80s, 90s. I think the lads
came in,
lads
dude.
made a good run.
yeah, man. Lads,
They fucking scurried around.
I mean, they're
up
like
there.
the Irish in some respects, where they came in here and they're just working, dude. 40 years.
Next thing you know, we're gonna have a lad president. They've got Taco Bell going.
TB.
They got T-Bell flying
T-Bell,
off
dude.
the shelf, dude.
I don't think. Do a lot of Mexicans eat at Taco Bell?
No,
I don't think they.
no, of course not.
I think it's just high white people.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely some black people.
Dude,
who
I
eat
haven't had Taco Bell in forever. I bet that shit's so good.
I can feel those soft tacos in my mouth right now. Like, dude, they were delicious.
They're fucking
They make you
great.
shit right away. My uncle still eats a Taco Bell pretty regularly. He's like, you can't beat it. There's for the money. It's the cheapest food. you can
He
get.
tries to logistically, he tries to real honestly be like, honestly, you cannot beat Taco Bell. It's like, yeah, you can, dude.
Yeah, go to anywhere.
Go to fucking 7-Eleven.
It is fucking good though.
All right.
What up?
What are we at? 50.